a question was asked during the break regarding guilt. Guilt. So we'll go into that a little bit. Then we'll have open discussion. When you feel guilty about something, when you feel guilty about anything, first of all, try to bring the time factor into it. The time factor into it. If you can all think, and deliberately do so, this is deliberate thinking now, try to think of something you did a few years ago, 5 years, 10 years, in which you know very well you behaved very badly toward another person. Okay? You behaved badly, correct? Think of it, deliberately think of it now. Now try to see whether you feel guilty about it now. Do this, actually do this. Get something pretty bad and see whether you still feel guilty, feel bad about it. Remember that awful thing you did that hurt that other person, made him cry, made her cry? Remember? You remember. All right. The time factor. The event certainly happened. Your memory tells you that you behaved very badly toward this other person. Now, listen to this. It makes no difference really from reality's viewpoint whether the event happened 20 years ago or 5 seconds ago. It makes no difference at all, because the memory that you have of this event, which may have made you feel guilty, as you recall it, the memory you have of it is not the event itself. The memory of it is not it now, because you are not now. You don't exist now as a memory of what happened 5 seconds or 20 years ago. As a matter of fact, if you could see it, if you could live it, you would be, listen, free and perfectly innocent now. But you think about that event and connect it with me. I was dreadful 5 seconds or 20 years ago. Having said I, you create the illusion that there is an I now, as there was a guilty I 20 years ago, and now that reactivates time, memory, and you say, I did a dreadful thing 5 seconds or 20 years ago. That's a lie. You don't exist, and you didn't even do it 5 seconds or 20 years ago. What happened is that you, as a human being, in a state of sleep, of unconsciousness, permitted yourself to be taken over by a hostile force, a dreadful force, a negative force that took over your mouth, that took over your emotions, that took over your mind, that took over your physical fist maybe. Took you over and caused this bit of the expression of God to forget who he or she really was, to be taken over and made you behave badly. If you really see that you don't have any identity that lives in time, then you could remember the event without you saying, I did it, because that is a lie. You didn't even do it then. You were taken over and it did it in your name. But because you want to be somebody, you want to be somebody who wanted to win something 20 years ago and it didn't work out, so you flared up and got mad and were cruel to that other person. Because you wanted to be somebody, you permitted these negative forces to take you over. In order to preserve the illusion that you were somebody, anybody, a guilty person or any kind of a person, in order to preserve that, you go into guilt so that you can say, I am guilty. Why don't you die? Why don't you die to the illusion that you are anyone at all? Why don't you have the courage to die to the guilt, to give it up, that just drop it right now. Drop it. You will find that you no longer exist, which is being born again, which is true life, which is liberty, which is out of the cage. So feeling guilty is simply another false move that we fall into because we don't understand what we're doing against ourselves and against the rest of the world. Now, seeing that we behave badly is quite a different thing than falling into guilt over it. I am conscious that that was a wrong thing to do against me, therefore against you. Against you, therefore against me. How can it be divided? I burn myself with hatred, I burn you. I burn you, I burn myself. It's all one thing. Have the courage to give up guilt. Just drop it. You'll find a tremendous resistance to it. Because the ego self, the vanity self, doesn't want to give you up that easily. It's had you too long. It likes cracking the whip over you and seeing you suffer. It likes taking you over and making you the instrument for the suffering of other people. First it gets you, then it tells you to pass on your pain to someone else, which you gullibly follow and destroy both yourself and the other person. Does that make it clearer, Lorraine?